Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. This is Joker with a face for radio and a voice for print. Tonight is not the most exciting topic in the world, but I think it's another very important lesson that we men can learn about finding happiness in our lives. I've done a video on Stoicism. If you haven't seen that, I'll try to remember and put a link over here for you. And there's Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. And this is basically a very good description of explaining what are the basic things you need in life to become happy, and then working your way up the pyramid in things to reach self-actualization or finding your full potential. And I think a lot of society today is getting caught on the middle rungs, and the middle rungs actually aren't necessary. You can meet the bottom needs and you can move right to the top of the pyramid without ever touching the in-between, as it were. So before we get started, I do want to recommend a book, and this is a sponsor of this video, but one of our friends here in the Manosphere on YouTube is Aaron Clary. He wrote this book here, How Not to Become a Millennial, and you'd think it's a dig at millennials, but it's explaining how millennials are getting things wrong. And I'm going to be touching on this a little bit in this video, which is why I wanted to mention his book. This is not necessarily a fun read or an easy read. It is about 600 pages. But what it does do is gives you the building blocks and the fundamentals to get to that successful place and have that right mindset on how to do how to live your best life and how to do the right things that are going to make you happy. And those are some of the things I'm touching on in this video, so I wanted to make sure to do both at once. So again, it's How Not to Become a Millennial. I'm going to leave a link down below. Aaron has another book that I think is absolutely amazing. I have both books, actually. The other one, however, I cannot hold as a prop because I have lent that to a friend. It is Bachelor Pad Economics, and that is about the same length, about 600 pages, but it tells you how to build your life and your career and your success and finding not only happiness, but financial success. So I want to put both those books out there. I'll leave links down below for you younger guys out there. Younger being anything under the age of 60. I mean, let's be honest. But especially for you younger guys out there, I think these are two really good books to give you a foundation on how to start building your life and improving yourself. So let's talk about Maslow's pyramid and how one moves through the pyramid and finds their place to get some self-actualization or finding their place where they're truly happy in life. And this started out, there's an article here, let me get recording. There's an article here that I wanted to one of you viewers sent me, and they touched on it a little bit. And it's about how relationships are failing because we're trying to look for all things in one person. And what they do use the word people, but the truth of it is this more correlates to women than men, because men's needs they're able to find much more successfully than women can in some cases. And this didn't really change until, we'll say, the 50s or the 60s, when the third wave of feminism came around. That was to try to get women to be able to get to the peak of the pyramid, as it were, and men were the only ones able to get there. And so they said, well, women should have a chance at the top of the pyramid as well. But because of the way social media and society has developed, people are getting stuck on the middle rung, and when they're not able to get any higher on that rung, they're not finding happiness, and they're not able to be successful in a relationship. It'll all come together for you in a minute here. I promise you that. Just hang in there. But they start off with we expect too much from our romantic partners, how marriage has changed in recent years, and why staying married has gotten harder. They say, tall, dark, handsome, funny, kind, great with kids, six-figure salary, a harsh but fair critique of my creative output. The list of other things people want from their spouses and partners has grown substantially in recent decades. So argues Ellie Finkel, a professor of social psychology at Northwestern University, in his book, The All or Nothing Marriage. So this is a gentleman that's saying this. And again, they use the word people, but really they should insert the word woman here, because if you're going to, I've never described a woman that I would like to marry as tall, dark, handsome, funny, kind, great with kids, six-figure salary. but that is what women are looking for in men. And men tend to be much more basic in their needs from a partner, where women are requiring more. And I'm going to touch on why this is, and I think why we've run into such harsh times with marriage. As Finkel explains, it's no longer enough for a modern marriage to simply provide a second pair of strong hands to help tend the homestead, or even just a nice enough person who happens to be from the same neighborhood. Instead, people are increasingly seeking self-actualization within their marriages, expecting their partner to be all things to them. Unfortunately, that only seems to work if you're an Olympic swimmer whose husband is her coach. And again, you can see they're using the female here. I spoke with Finkel about how to balance this blend of expectations and challenges in a modern relationship. A lightly edited and condensed version of our conversation follows. And Olga, who is the interviewer, I believe, says, how has what we expect from our marriages changed since, say, 100 years ago? And Eli says, the main challenge has been we've added on top of the expectation that we're going to find love and cherish our spouse, the expectation that our spouse will help us grow, help us become a better version of ourselves, a more authentic version of ourselves. And then Kazan asks, Kazan then says, as in our spouse should, just to give a random example, provide interesting feedback on our work. Finkel says that's obviously a white-collar variation on the theme, but I think up and down the socioeconomic hierarchy, it isn't totally crazy these days to hear somebody say something like, he's a wonderful man and a loving father, and I like and respect him, but I really feel stagnant in the relationship. I feel like I'm not growing, and I'm not willing to stay in a marriage where I feel stagnant for the next 30 years. And that's where I'm going to stop reading the article. It's not much, but they then reference to Maslow's hierarchy. And they don't dive into this in the article. I'll leave the link down below if you'd like to read the rest of the article. But I'm going to tell you where I think society gets hung up on the needs and why it's a problem in today's society, and how you can still reach the top of the pinnacle without having everything fulfilled, and how others are getting stuck part way up and not moving past it. So let's look at the basics here. At the very bottom in the dark purple, it says physiological needs, and that's food, water, warmth, and rest. Without those, you cannot exist. And that also includes, and on other charts, it includes things like air. But the truth is, if you have food and water, you're warm and you can rest at night, you will at least survive. What is the next thing that you will need is safety, which is security and safety. And that just means that you can make sure you constantly provide the previous, which is food, water, warmth, and rest for yourself, as well as not having to be afraid, not having to worry. And I think that's the first bump that a lot of people run into, where they will leap over it, but they never fully get into a place where they feel like they are secure and safe. This is why we're finding a lot of people look for this in somebody else. The same thing can be said when they run it. Some people run into this, and this is as far as they go in certain aspects of their life, because they're not willing to take risks and take a gamble to move further on in their lives. I was speaking with a friend, and we were discussing what is required or what people look for in a relationship. And one of the things that I was trying to express is that too many people have a defined expectation of a relationship today, instead of letting things just be what they are. So if you meet somebody and you have a wonderful time, but you're both going separate ways in, we'll say, 2 weeks, do you say, well, I'm only looking for a long-term relationship, so I'm not going to let anything happen between us, and you forego those 2 weeks? Or are you the different direction that says, oh, I just want to hook up and I don't want to spend 2 weeks with somebody? Or do you say, it is what it is, let's see what happens? I think too many times people either are not understanding that we're going to let things be what they are, and they have in mind a definitive outcome of the situation, thus losing a potential good partner, or they are throwing away a potential good partner by only wanting something extremely short term. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily right for all of you, but again, we're looking at society as a whole. So the next one above safety needs is belongingness and love and needs. And this is what they call psychological needs. And they talk about intimate relationship and friends. Now, I think this is where a lot of men get stuck. is they come up against, and everything else is good. You've got a job, you've got safety, you've got food, you've got warmth. Everything is there. But when it comes to having intimate relationships or friends, you're lacking. And that's as far up as the pyramid that you go. And you say, well, I cannot make it any further because I'm missing these two things. But part of having friends and intimate relationships is, do you need that for you, or do you need that for you to express yourself and feel important to other people? If you have the need in your life to feel important to other people and to feel needed to other people, this is where you're going to run into a problem. Because as long as it is important for you to feel important to other people or to be needed by other people, and those other people don't need you, you're never going to be fulfilled. And today, with the way society is structured and the way things are going for young men, it's important to understand that you may not have the opportunity for those intimate relationships to the degree that you want. In other words, meeting somebody that is attractive and funny and personable and you want to have children with and get married, and that portion of it. That is very, very difficult to fulfill for many people nowadays. In likewise, other people are easily able to have very casual, quick hookups, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is fulfilling. In many cases, if you read some of the articles that are written by specifically women, because not too many men have the opportunity to go out and just hook up with 20, 30, 50 people in a year, but women do have that ability because of the way society is structured and the way men think. You'll find a lot of these women are not happy. They're not getting their needs filled. They're getting other validation, which is the esteem needs, which is next up. But even though they're getting the next rung up filled, they're not able to come to terms with the belongingness and love and needs. So for you guys out there, that as you look at this and you see that it's intimate relationship and friends, the part that you need to understand is that you can fill it with friends. You do not need the intimate relationships. Or if you want to call it that way, call it having very close friends, people that you can rely upon, that have your back if you run into a hard time, and you can have other casual friends. Today, though, again, it's filled with shallow friends and people that aren't meaningful in your life. And so whether it's a guy or a girl, but again, usually it leans on the sides of the women, that if you can get lots of affirmation, but it doesn't mean necessarily that these people genuinely care about you. A guy may take you home for the night from a social setting like a bar, and he may be more than willing to be physical with you, but that doesn't mean that he actually cares about you. And so that's missing for a lot of people because they don't have the ability to make good friendships. So without those true friendships, this all falls apart. So before we move on, just understand that it doesn't need to be a romantic relationship. You just need to have close friends and friends around you. Even if you struggle with this, though, you can still move to the next step. And this is where I think 99% of society is running into problems. The next step is esteem needs. Now, esteem, like prestige, the first one they have here, prestige, I'm going to read you the dictionary definition of prestige, and then I'm going to tell you why it falls apart. It's prestige, noun, a reputation or influence arising from success, achievement, rank, or other valuable attributes. But you notice something, it's not the actual success. It's not the actual achievement. It's the reputation or influence you get from those things. Well, why would you need a good reputation? Why would you need to have influence others? Because that's a way to fill your own ego or feel good about yourself because you have the praise or the admiration of others. This is not necessary to be a happy person. You don't need other people clapping for you and cheering you on. And one of the problems we're running into today is that social media gives this to people for doing nothing. It is false reputation. In other words, if I go online and I say something very harsh about, say, the president or a movie star or something that nobody likes, or I go online and I play the victim, like, oh, you will not believe what happened to me, and the world is so unfair, and people say, oh, I agree, but you're so strong for braving this out or standing up for yourself, or I agree with your whatever funny joke about a political meme or whatever. These things make that person feel like they have influence over others, or that they have a reputation of being whatever. It gives them a sense of fulfillment, but the truth is its value is actually nothing. And deep down, I think these people realize it, or when they try to cash in on it, they realize that it's all gone. It doesn't really mean anything. That all of a sudden, the people that think you're stunning and brave really don't care what you have to say, because they're just virtue signaling in the same way by saying you're stunning and brave. They hope people come back and think about them. Oh, he thinks they're stunning and brave. That's very stunning and brave of her or him. This is what's happening, is everybody's jumping. It's the way to get praise for doing literally nothing. It's the easiest way to get a pat on the back and to feel good about yourself without actually really having to accomplish anything. This is where social media is stopping so many people. We'll move on to the next portion of prestige. Distinction or reputation attaching to a person or thing, and thus possessing a cachet for others or for the public. In other words, that it's popular or it's interesting. And of course, the adjective having or showing success, rank, wealth. Well, these are all perceptions of what other people think about you. That is worthless. That is worthless. Okay, because if you think about it, take someone that, and I'll go with a historical figure, take someone like George Washington. The man started a country. He fought the Revolutionary War. He is the founder of America. And boy, that's a pretty high prestige or reputation, isn't it? Doesn't matter. Either way, he's no longer living. Either way, he's just a name in a history book. And while many of us understand he did great things, his prestige is valueless. So to understand that all the prestige and the popularity and everything else you have today may be gone tomorrow, well, a lot of people get hung up on that portion. But here's the thing about it. Again, this is only about what others think of you. It's actually worthless. Same thing here when the feeling of accomplishment. Oh, gosh, feel bad for me. Feel bad for me. Look how awful these things are. Post on social media. Everybody, round of applause, stunning and brave. But that meets the esteem needs, but they don't have any of the intimate friendships or friend needs. So there's something missing there. Let's move on to the next one, self-actualization. And that's achieving one's full potential, including creative activities. Now, if you go back to, and this is why marriage and society and many of the things are falling apart today, is because if you look at the way things were traditionally, whether it was in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 1960s, and prior to third wave feminism, a man who grew up and would marry a woman, they both had food, water, warmth, and rest, so their physiological needs were met. The man provided security and safety by bringing home a paycheck, by being the man of the family, by protecting the home. So even if you go back to the 1800s, the guys had a rifle, and if an animal attack or something happened, they would defend the home. It was literal safety needs. So the man provided the first one, food, water, warmth, and rest, with his income, or by hunting, or by working. Safety needs, the man provided that. The belongingness and love needs, which was intimate relationship and friends, that was provided by real people that genuinely cared about you. That would be your immediate family and your immediate friends around you. If my neighbor over here had his tractor or his, his horse broke a leg, I might physically walk over and help him do some of the work on his farm, and in exchange, he would do the same for me. It was legitimate community. Today, the community we have is fake. It's all online. It's all imaginary. None of these people really are going to do anything for you, but people think that they are. So they give up on the neighbor next door. They give up on the good friends, and it's now fake belongingness and fake love needs. But in the past, this was provided by the family, the nuclear family, your kids, your parents, your husband and wife. So you still felt that love bond. For the esteem needs, prestige and feeling of accomplishment, that was a man would be successful at work. He had a good reputation, and he was a good man. The feeling of accomplishment would be, I'm a successful banker, I'm a successful auto mechanic, I'm successful at my job, and I'm able to provide for my family. That is a sense of accomplishment. The housewife, traditionally housewives before they were working, she would get prestige from having a beautiful home, maintaining a good family, having kids that grew up and were on the sports team. Dad was proud because his son made the baseball team. He raised him to be athletic. Mom would be proud because she threw a dinner party, and many people came and they enjoyed it, and they gave her many compliments. She's a wonderful cook, great, maintains a beautiful home, feeling of accomplishment. Well, that is now gone as well, because men are shamed when they have a feeling of accomplishment, and men are shamed when they have prestige, because they're the patriarchy, that they're taking away things from women. And so if you're a successful man, you must be a bad person, not a good person. And same thing for women. Now they have the ability to have that prestige or feeling of accomplishment, but because they don't have the family unit around them and they've chosen to live a more single life, it forces both people, both men and women, and I'm not saying it's the fault of the women, this is both sides, that men are feeling not proud of themselves for doing well, and women who do well, they share it and they're told, oh, stunning and brave. But again, they don't have a family or anyone genuinely close to them to share it with. They share it to the ethers on social media, but that value or the return value is nothing. It's kind of like a house of cards. You set a pound on a house of cards and it flattens it. And that's kind of what's happening to society. So everybody's running into the intimate relationship and friends and is no longer being able to move on. And when you come then to self-actualization, achieving one's full potential, the man traditionally would say, I'm a successful banker, I'm going for a raise, I've got a good title at work, and including creative activities, which for a guy might be playing golf, belonging to a cigar club or a men's club, going bowling. Well, women were not able to have that self-actualization. They weren't able to reach their full potential because they felt, whether it's true or not, they felt like they were being held back. They couldn't do creative activities other than maybe the bridge club with local other wives in the area, and they felt like they weren't able to achieve their full potential. So because of this, they've basically torn everything down through the whole list to where now nobody is getting to self-actualization. And so for you guys out there that are caught on the belongingness and love needs, where you need intimate relationship or friends, and you feel like, I don't have a girlfriend, I don't have a lot of friends, I'm worthless, I'm nothing. That's only one part of it. And prestige and the feeling of accomplishment that's everyone else's perception of you. Oh, well, I have a sense of accomplishment because I've been praised by others. Or the prestige. Well, let me correct that, actually. The prestige is how others feel of yourself, but you can have a sense or a feeling of accomplishment by creating and achieving your own goals. So you can actually meet the esteem needs as long as you realize that you're the only one that's going to be able to meet them. And as I said before, the belongingness and love needs, you can accomplish this with even just a couple of friends. And it doesn't even need to be in person. I have 0 friends around me physically here, but I have people on the other end of the phone that I've kept in touch with. There are people of motorcycle groups and forums online. And when I play a game that has like an MMO, massive multiplayer online game, there are other people that you get to know and you can share moments with. It helps you feel not as alone. And then when it comes to the self-actualization, achieving one's full potential, including creative activities, this is all up to you. No one can give this to you. And so to achieve your full potential, you have to find what it is that's going to make you happy or make your long-term, that may be a lifetime or a long-term goal, and then you need to go after them. And you need to not stop until you get it. And if you can't get it but it's a lifetime dream of yours, but you cannot achieve it, you have to get as close as you can. Or you have to realign and find a different goal that you can actually succeed, so you get that feeling of accomplishment in the esteem needs, and then you can continue on, including your creativity or creative activities and other things like that. So I hope this makes some sense for you guys. I wanted to touch on this because, like Stoicism, it's an ether. There's so many things that we say out there that it's hard to put on paper what we're actually talking about and how to put this in an order. But for you guys that say, hey, I'm safe, no one's trying to harm me, I have a roof over my head, I'm making it day to day, but I start needing more. If you cannot get those friends, if you cannot get those relationships, you need to move on. Because as you move on through this, the other ones are more basic needs. And so if you can get a higher need fulfilled, a lot of times it will cover or at least support the basic needs. So if you don't have those intimate relationships, if you don't have those friends, continue on. Don't let that hang you up and become your problem. You move on to esteem needs. Prestige is what other people think about you. Ignore it. But get your feeling of accomplishment. Go to the gym and meet a goal. Okay, if some of you guys are wanting to lose a little weight, I've got about 10 pounds to lose. I'm starting my diet next month. I wasn't able to start it this month. And I'm going to post my before and after. And just to say, hey, here's my sense of accomplishment. Set yourself a goal and then make sure it's attainable and then get that feeling of accomplishment. And when you do that long enough, you're working towards your self-actualization, which is your full potential. What is your full potential? And pick a category and try to go for it. Pick 5 categories. What is my full potential of how far can I run? How well do I do at the gym? How much money can I make an hour or in a year? Or can I go out and join a club that has X amount of friends? Make yourself these goals, and as you move on, the other ones, as long as you have your basic needs filled, will fill themselves in. So don't let the needing other people and needing their praise and their outside opinion on you, don't let that stop you from moving on. Continue to do your thing, and I think you'll find happiness. Guys, if you'd like to support my work, links are below as always, and if you have, thank you very much. And the best way you can support me is like, comment, share, subscribe. Guys, I'll leave it there. This is Better Bachelor. I'm Joker. And remember, you're not going to be able to fill all things in the pyramid. Don't let that hold you back. Just keep moving on up the list, and the other ones will eventually fill themselves in.